begin to take your seats. The gala starts in 5 minutes. Ladies and gentlemen, please begin to take your seats. The gala starts in 5 minutes. Thank you.
Davilizwi kwelo jolo ndakangela ndasondela lisicho lisithi ilizwe lifile Chino, chino, yamani lonjolo Navilizui Welonjolo Nakangela Nahasondela Lalizicho City, ilizwe lifile Chino, yamani lonjolo Wayembete ingubo ezimhlophe Wayembete ingubo Ezibombu Waesicho Esiti Tili Chino Yaman Dilonjolo Waembete Ingubo Ezibombu Wayembete ingubo ezibomvu Wayesicho eziti tili Chino yama dilonjolo Ingubo ezimhlophe Wayembete ingubo ezibomvu Wayesicho esithi Chino, yeah. Chilong chilong yama dilong jolo chilong chilong yama yama dilong jolo chilong chilong yama dilong jolo chilong chilong yama dilong jolo 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 chilong chilong yama yama dilong jolo yama dilong jolo chilong 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 yama yama dilong jolo chilong chilong yama dilong jolo chilong chilong yama dilong jolo chilong chilong yama dilong jolo.
Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats. The gala is about to start. Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats. The gala is about to start. Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats. The gala is about to start.
and gentlemen, please welcome your host for the evening, Wadzi Katsidzira.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone, and a very, very warm welcome to the Anzisha Prize Gala for 2015. My name is Wadzika Tzira. I'm the Director of Marketing at African Leadership Academy, and I will be your host tonight as we celebrate Africa's 12 most promising young entrepreneurs and the ecosystem that supports them. In 2006, can everybody hear me? In 2006, the government of Rwanda launched its 1 cow per family policy. Now, the policy aimed to uplift the most impoverished families in Uganda out of poverty and provide them with the economic means to earn a livelihood. To date, over 200,000 families have benefited from this policy. Families including those in the Huye province of southern Rwanda, the home of Chantal Butare, one of our finalists tonight. Now, Chantal saw an opportunity and took the initiative to start Anzisha in Kiswahili. Chantal took the initiative to start Kinazi Dairy Cooperative, through which she's able to connect the 1,300 beneficiaries of the 1 cow per family policy in her community by collecting their milk, processing it for them, packaging it, and then distributing it. Now, what Chantal is able to do by her initiative is to amplify the impact of the Rwandese policy, because the effect of Chantal's work amplifies and takes to a much greater level what the government could ever expect it to see happen. And Chantal is not the only one of our finalists tonight who is leveraging existing government policies and who is working within the frameworks that exist in her country. Tonight we welcome our first fellow from Zimbabwe, which I'm very excited about because I'm Zimbabwean, Farai Munjoma, who is our youngest fellow this evening. He finished high school 4 days ago, so congratulations to you, Farai. Farai's venture is called Shasha I Seminar, which takes the age-old concept of examination preparation online. Farai has created a venture that gives Zimbabwean students access to curriculum, course content, past examination papers, and notes from across different schools online. So they're able to collaborate together as they prepare for their examinations. And what's really interesting is that Farai is collaborating and working with people from the Ministry of Education in Zimbabwe. This evening we have 2 finalists from Tanzania. East Africa dominates the Anzisha Prize. One of our finalists tonight is Sir Jeff Daniel, who is a budding agricultural mogul. And I'm not over-exaggerating. His venture includes poultry, it includes rice, and it includes maize. And one of his aspirations and his ambitions is to expand the acreage that he's got under cultivation for maize and for rice. What's really interesting again about Jeff's venture is that he receives veterinary and technical support from the Ministry of Agriculture in Tanzania. Now, what do all these stories have to do with you in the room tonight? All of you have been specially invited and selected to join us tonight because you represent influential business leaders, you represent influential government officials and policymakers, you represent educators, you represent young people themselves, you represent influential members of the media who will help us to scale and grow the Anzisha Prize and continue to support the young entrepreneurs like the 12 that you're going to meet today. We're particularly excited this year because it's the 5th year of the Anzisha Prize. The Anzisha Prize is a partnership. Yes, this is worthy of applause. The 5th year of the Anzisha Prize. The Anzisha Prize is a partnership between African Leadership Academy and the MasterCard Foundation. And this year we also welcome the support of the Louis Dreyfus Foundation and South African Airways. The aim of the initiative and the aim of the venture is to, again, identify, connect to each other, and nurture on an ongoing basis the young entrepreneurs who will transform the continent. I mentioned that you are part of the story. Please tweet. The hashtag for tonight is #AnzishaEffect. We're also live streaming across the internet. If you've got mates who couldn't be here tonight, you need to tell them to get on board and to watch and follow the proceedings tonight, because it's going to be a fascinating and wonderful celebration during which we will hear from some of the young entrepreneurs themselves, from an ecosystem of influential people who have supported them to get here, from people who they can aspire to be like as they continue to grow and to scale their ventures, and from the partners who bring the prize program to you. To get us started, I'd like to invite my colleague, Dr. Frank Aswani, who is the Vice President of Strategic Relations at African Leadership Academy, and he will be followed by Kofi Aswan. Welcome you to the evening and tell you more about the prize.
Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me? Hello? Yeah, good evening, everyone. Hi, on behalf of the African Leadership Academy, I'd like to welcome all of you to the 5th Anzisha Gala event. It's a real pleasure for us to have been to have you here and to have you as part of this exciting journey. Our mission is to develop the next generation of African leaders. If you look across us as a continent, we've gone through 50 or 60 years of what we could call relatively mediocre leadership. And as we go through the next 50 years, it's unacceptable that we stand to face the same that we have in the past. As a result of this, we invest a lot in identifying young people who we believe have promise to transform this continent. We're going through a really exciting phase of time at the moment. We've just built our first major dormitory. As a result of that, we're going to take an extra 40% of students in the next 2 to 4 years. If any of you are in this room and you know any 16 to 19-year-olds who are deserving of support and a chance to grow into transformative African leaders, please connect with us. Especially as South Africans, we don't get enough South African applications. As Nigerians will say, I beg. Can we please have you sending us a lot more kids? The deadline for the applications is 15th of December. We'd really appreciate if this room alone can push forward a lot more applications through the process. It's also really exciting. You know, many of us who've been following ALA for the past couple of years have always asked us, so you do all these things, you get all these young people, you send them to the US, do they ever come back? This year we had our second class graduate from college, majority in the US, and we're proud to say of the first 2 cohorts, close to 70% of them are back in Africa working. We've continued to do a lot more stuff. The expansion of the Anzisha program is a key part of that progress. And through the tutelage of Josh, this program has grown tremendously. And I'd like to give the Anzisha team and the CL team a clap for the progress they've made so far. But our journey to transform Africa, just like the problems that got us here in the first place, is a long-term game. And we know we're going to be doing this for the next at least 50 years by creating or building at least 6,000 leaders in that process. In the short term, we can't live in a continent where we'll just watch stuff without acting on some of the issues facing us at the moment. And if you look at us, we're the youngest continent. I don't need to give you the stats. And one of the biggest issues, if I say it's probably the biggest risk we face is youth unemployment. We can have all the growth we want on the continent, but sadly, most of it is jobless. We have a young population who are more educated than their parents, but have few economic opportunities. Today, and what ALA does on a day-to-day basis is to try and create alternative options, not just to give young people an opportunity to be influential on the continent, but to be economically independent and proactive and active on the continent. Entrepreneurship is a core part of that. And the way we teach entrepreneurship is that we don't believe entrepreneurship is a reserve of the private sector. So some of the people you'll see today are not running businesses in the context of profit and loss making organizations. They're running non-profits that are change-making by addressing social issues. We believe that entrepreneurship is applicable across multiple sectors on the continent. We wouldn't do this without the help of a lot of our partners. And specifically, one partner stands out, the MasterCard Foundation. I'd like to invite the program manager for youth livelihoods at the MasterCard Foundation, who's a good man. Not only does his surname sound like mine, but he claims to come from Cote d'Ivoire, who are current world champions. But the Nigerians would argue that they won the most recent World Cup and the under-17. So Mr. Kofi Soon, come up, please.
Right. Wow, the lights are pretty bright. Actually, I can't even see anyone. Last year I was here, I was on crutches, for those who remember me. I was the gentleman wearing the big boo-boo and decided to be on crutches. It was very difficult actually coming up. And I spent most of my time trying to stay balanced instead of giving a speech. So this time I am good to go. And I'm happy and excited to be here today. I have spent the last 5 days with the Anzisha fellows. I won't call them finalists anymore because yesterday they had a wonderful, wonderful ceremony at ALA that really represent the community that they're joining. And I'm in front of you today distinguished guests, friends of the LA, of course the alumni who are here today, and colleagues. And on behalf of the MasterCard Foundation, honestly, it is an honor to represent them and speak on their behalf. Let me first, of course, congratulate 2015. Oh shit, sorry. The 2015 Anzisha Fellows. I want to say congratulations. You are an inspiring group of young men and young women. And this past few days you have demonstrated why you deserve to be here today. And at the foundation, we always look for ways to introduce youth, to have the youth voice in everything that we do. And today, as you had the opportunity to interact with these young men and young women, I hope you realized how diverse they're represented in terms of sectors. We have the information and communication technology, we have agriculture, we have education, we have healthcare. Am I missing anyone? Oh, renewable energy. So as you can see, these young men and young women are representing a diverse sector. And as Anzisha Fellows, not only do they represent this diversity of sector, they also represent the ambition and the innovative capacity of Africa's youth. Their creativity, their ambition, their passion is a renewable resources that the continent has. Resources that can actually change lives of many families, many communities, and across the continent at large. This is what drives, and actually this is what drives to the full extent our commitment. This is what drives us at the MasterCard Foundation. And always we are tremendously excited when we get a chance to meet them, put them at the centerpiece of what we do on our engagement with anyone who is in the youth development field. Our vision at the foundation is simple. It's to create opportunity for all to learn and prosper. As simple as that. And we do this by advancing learning and promoting financial inclusion to alleviate poverty. Collectively, our program are reaching over 8.4 million people, primarily in Africa. The foundation is led by the belief that young people, like those that you have met and those who are not here today, and I want to make reference to the 400 plus applicants that we received this year for the Anzisha Prize. That these young folks, these young people can realize their full potential and improve their livelihood if they have access to the right skills and opportunities. Our approach at the foundation is simple. We combine market access skills, mentorships, apprenticeship, internships, job search, and of course, appropriate financial services. But we can't do this alone. We partner with organizations that share our values in regards to youth. And one of our partners is the African Leadership Academy. And this partnership started 5 years ago. And at the foundation is a partnership that on a daily basis inspires us to do more, to look for other organizations like the African Leadership Academy. We are proud of the journey that we have embarked with the African Leadership Academy. The journey has evolved from a one prize entrepreneurship reward that was given 5 years ago to an entire ecosystem, entire network, entire community of leaders across the continent who their sole purpose is to support these young men and young women to succeed. Collectively, we have over 50 fellows in the community. And these young men, young women have employed over 200 people in their businesses. Collectively, they have raised over 600,000 in terms of external funding, and continue to grow their businesses. And that brings me to today, to these fellows who you see before you today. Yesterday, the judges had a tough time picking amongst who would be the first, the second, and so forth. But in our view, they're all winners. In our view, there's a reason why. There's a reason why they're all here today. And I'm going to use one of the some of the description that were under their names as soon as when I receive the report in regards to these young men, young women. They're called them business leaders, agriculture trailblazers, healthcare transformer, tech influencer, fashion guru, education advocate, agro optimizer, futuristic innovator, tech whiz, social entrepreneur, solution leaders. As you can see, these are the description of the young men, young women before you today, and I'm sure this can actually be applied to a lot more youth that you are engaged with on a daily basis. So tonight, 2015 fellows, you're part of a larger community. You're part of a group, a community that will continue to inspire you as you move forward. And I hope tonight is not the end of your story. And this journey that you began started before we even noticed you. It began the day that you had your first vision. The day you got up and decided to do something about a cause that you felt passionate about. So we want to thank you tremendously from the MasterCard Foundation and all the staff at the foundation to say thank you for letting us be part of the journey, and we look forward to learning from you. Thank you.
As Kofi mentioned in his address, this year we had 494 applications for the Anzisha Prize, which is quite a dramatic increase from what we had last year. And as you mentioned as well, the applicants represented a multitude of sectors. So we had the biggest number of applications came from the agriculture sector, but most interestingly, they came from the technology sector as well as from the education sector. The consistent thing that we're seeing with all of these applications from across the continent and across the sectors is an emphasis on quality. Now, we're dispelling a lot of myths with the work that we're doing through the Anzisha Prize, and what we're finding is that despite what people expect, young people, in spite of their inexperience, are actually committed to quality. Not only are they committed to quality, they're also coming up with innovative service solutions that are about overcoming some of the infrastructure gaps in the countries and homes that they live in. Take Daniel Mukisa, for example, who's the founder of Transporter Company in Kampala, Uganda. Now, anyone who's been to Kampala knows that the traffic is pretty bad. And to overcome that, there's a network of boda riders, or motorcycle taxis, who are not exactly known for being, models of service delivery. But what they're doing with Transporter Corp, which is a delivery and logistics company, is that Daniel and his team are hiring university graduates and taking them through a comprehensive 1-month training process before they put them on the road. So suddenly, your undesirable border guy becomes something to aspire to, becomes a bastion and a model of service delivery, so that when he shows up at your doorstep with your package or with your food order, he does it with a smile and you're happy to see him. So not only is Daniel, through his work, providing viable employment opportunities in a country where 80% of young people are unemployed, he's also uplifting and changing the model on service delivery, so that the average border guy is going to change his expectation and his concept of service. those of you in the room who watch Muvango, who's a Muvango fan on SABC2? Yeah, so Muvango is the most popular vernacular TV show in South Africa. And if you watch Muvango, then you've seen Caritas' clothing. You've seen Push Ishmoholo. Now, Push Ishmoholo is slang for hustle. Push Ishmoholo is not a brand, it's an urban wear brand that's not about hip hop, it's not about house culture, it's about hustle culture. Okay? So they're based in the townships of Pretoria, but they deliver across the country. And one of the innovations that Caritas talked about yesterday when they all pitched as part of the prize competition is the fact that they're going to introduce a QR code, a unique code on each of their garments, so that I can come up to you and I can say, hey Connor, are you wearing Push Ishmoholo? And you'll say, yes I am. And I'll say, can I see your QR code? And I'll scan it. And if your product is a fake, then it won't come up. But if your product is genuine, then I'll know. Which is pretty cool. So it's a South African brand that's about urban hustle and that's about kind of being hip and being cool. Caritas, did you take orders today? You did? Okay, great. Because I was going to say, these people are here tonight because they believe in the hustle and they believe in your hustle in particular. So you haven't placed an order, please get on board, buy yourself some street cred. Caritas' venture delivers across the country. So they're based in Gauteng, but they've got agents countrywide, and they will deliver to your door. And it's really, really nice stuff. Okay, so we're finding these young entrepreneurs who are committed to quality, who are committed to service delivery, and we're changing the game. But how do we find them? We've got a video that tells you how we do that.
The Anzisha Prize was established in 2011 as a partnership between the MasterCard Foundation and African Leadership Academy to nurture, stimulate, celebrate, and scale Africa's top young entrepreneurs. We believe in developing a network of passionate changemakers who are pursuing economic opportunities and implementing innovative solutions to challenges within their communities. Because our continent will only be transformed by strong entrepreneurial leaders who solve problems, create jobs, and drive our economies.
The Anzisha program is African Leadership Academy's response to the entrepreneurship challenge the continent faces. And we're seeking to do it with two primary goals. The first is we want to create what's called a demonstration effect. We want to show the top entrepreneurship talent in the continent on a global stage and promote them with everything we've got so that thousands of other young entrepreneurs, or those that want to be entrepreneurs, follow young African examples of what entrepreneurship is rather than anything else. The second thing that we need to do, and it is our role and responsibility as an academy, is to help light a fire under the ecosystem that supports the youngest entrepreneurs, so post-school, post-university age, which doesn't get as much support and attention as it needs to. ALA is the perfect sort of host vehicle to work with partners from all over the continent to really sort of energize that whole movement. And that's what we're trying to do. So we're halfway. We're 5 years in. We've got 5 years to go. Join us on the journey.
Since inception, the Anzisha Prize has had a transformative impact on the businesses and social reach of our fellows. 2012 finalist Letitia Mukongu has received more than $20,000 in additional funding and has been featured on several media platforms, including Mnet's Carte Blanche. She is further developing her agricultural interest at Earth University in Costa Rica. Kola Olajide, a finalist from 2013, has seen his enterprise Funda recognized at the World Congress on Information Technology. It was recognized as the best educational product in the world, meeting the United Nations Millennium Development Goals. 2014 Grand Prize winner Elenin Tef has blossomed tremendously, being the youngest participant of the 2015 World Economic Forum in Switzerland. He has been recognized by none less than the Queen of England for his phenomenal work with expecting mothers in Cameroon. 2014 finalist Winifred Selby was recently awarded $35,000 at the World of Children Youth Award in New York for her work with children in Ghana. What's more, 2 Anzisha Fellows have studied in ALA's 2-year pre-university program, 4 have been guest speakers at ALA's Global Scholars Program, and 11 are now service providers and official country partners for the prize. And as we approach our 6th year of the Anzisha Prize, we're excited to see the growing impact of our entrepreneurs across the continent every day. It's called the Anzisha Effect. After a fantastic celebration of Africa's top young entrepreneurs for 2014, the prize team immediately hit the road searching for undiscovered gems, transforming communities across the continent. The prize tour took us to countries such as Cameroon, Angola, Cote d'Ivoire, Uganda, Morocco, Nigeria, and Kenya. We were featured in newspapers, went on TV, spoke on radio shows, and we were active on social media. All these culminated in a record number of applications for the Anzisha Prize. 494 applicants from 33 countries, 70% of whom were still either enrolled in high school or university. But that was just the start. With so many applications in, our due diligence team kicked into action. We sent 11 of our team members on the road to visit 23 countries in Namibia, Ghana, Nigeria, Uganda, Zimbabwe, Rwanda, Ethiopia, Cameroon, Tanzania, Kenya, and right here in South Africa. That is just a piece of the process that has led us to the selection of Africa's top young entrepreneurs for 2015.
The search for the Anzisha finalists this year was an amazing journey. Our intention with the search is always to go further and wider than others go and find those yet undiscovered and uncelebrated young entrepreneurs who are having a real impact in their communities. And we were not disappointed this year. We received a record around 500 applications that had just such a breadth and depth of stories of entrepreneurial prowess and success within the local African communities. I think one of the most compelling parts of our process is actually going in country to visit the entrepreneurs while they are within their space and within their element. By so doing, we're able to dispel some of the myths and preconceptions that we have around youth entrepreneurs. And we find that they actually are running fairly professional ventures. They understand the markets within which they operate. They have access to social capital to help them. They have impact goals that are just beyond their years and beyond any expectations that you could have. So it's the truly wonderful group of entrepreneurs that we celebrate today.
With our finalists selected, the final piece of this puzzle was bringing them to South Africa for a week-long experience in business mentoring, coaching, and entrepreneur leadership training. Our finalists arrived on the 10th of November for the annual Anzisha Accelerator Week, having a chance to immerse themselves in the African Leadership Academy community, to work with mentors, perfect their business statements, pitch for their share of the prize money, and prepare for this phenomenal night. Ladies and gentlemen, let us celebrate one more time Africa's top young entrepreneurs for 2015. Farai, Sajef, Mabel, Daniel, Chantel, Caridas, Hadaya, Fabrice, Chris, Blessing, George, and Vanessa. Welcome to the 2015 Anzisha Prize Awards Gala.
And what a journey it has been. As part of the Entrepreneurial Accelerator Week, please, English. As part of the Entrepreneurial Accelerator Week, our fellows have undergone extensive boot camps and trainings and workshops that have enabled them to understand their businesses more and get impactful ideas from each other. For example, in one of the workshops earlier in the week, led by the team from Awetu, they were discussing revenue streams and talking about different ways in which they could grow their businesses. And one of the things that I always find the most interesting and the most helpful about the Anzisha Fellowship is that the fellows can swap ideas and talk to each other. So when Mabel, the founder of Eco Shoes from Ghana, was talking about her business and describing her different revenue streams, so Mabel makes makes shoes and bags from recycled materials, and she works with disabled people in the community who she trains, and then they work and gain an income from making the shoes in her business. And as she was describing this, one of the other entrepreneurs, Vanessa, of Emerald Moringa Tea from Cameroon, came up with a suggestion and said, you know, why don't you charge some of the people that you work with for additional training? And Mabel was kind of taken aback and said, but hang on, they don't have anything. I'm giving them something. And Vanessa's response was, yes, but once you've trained them, they have a job and they have an income stream, which means they're now consumers and they could spend more on additional training services, which could be another revenue stream for you. This isn't something that she'd necessarily thought about, but it is something that she was able to come and to see and understand through the network, which is some of the multiplier effects that we hope to see and we hope to achieve. Not only do we connect the young entrepreneurs to each other, we also connect them to high-performing and impactful current business leaders and professionals, like our keynote speaker tonight. Mr. Alex Okosi is the Senior Vice President and Managing Director of Viacom International Media Networks Africa, or for us regular people, this means that he's the Oga-in-Chief at channels like MTV, Nickelodeon, and Comedy Central. At Viacom, Alex is responsible for driving the growth and development of the media giant's portfolio of iconic kids, youth, music, comedy, and general entertainment brands on the African continent. Nigerian and African, he is a tireless supporter of initiatives that motivate, empower, and educate Africa's youth. He has been the driving force behind pro-social campaigns that have impacted social and cultural landscapes of urban environments. He has been honored as a new champion for enduring culture by This Day newspaper, and in 2013, he was selected as a World Economic Forum Young Global Leader. He was also named as one of the 100 most influential Africans. I think it's fair to say that few are qualified, or more qualified than Alex, to address our 2015 finalists today. So please welcome Mr. Alex Okosi to the stage.
Wow, with that kind of intro, chai. Anyway, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm so honored to be here tonight, not to speak to anyone, but to these 12 incredible finalists, because they will be my new best friends, because I know they're going to be very successful moving forward. And clearly, they'll be my ticket to actually being rich. But again, I also want to give a huge round of applause to the organizer of this initiative. I think it's amazing. It's fantastic. I'm actually, as I watch this, Mr. Bradford was telling me about it. As I'm here now, and I've reviewed all the finalists and how you guys got to this journey, I'm getting goosebumps, man. How come I wasn't this smart when I was young? Or this entrepreneurial? Anyway, to start, my passion since I came back to the continent has really been to champion our youth culture and our young people. Not because they make up the sheer bulk of the population on this continent, but because I believe they're the ones that face the day-to-day challenges more than we do. They're the ones that are smart, they're innovative, they have the intelligence to actually take us to where we need to go in the next place. Tonight, I just want to share a little of my story in hopes that as they go out there and conquer the world, they have a few things to think about as part of my journey, and hopefully it can lead them to again, stick to a path that enables them to get there. So, I was born in Enugu, Nigeria. I was the last of 7 children. Clearly, my parents really loved themselves too much because my older brother was 8 years older than me. So I was the last one by far. Now, in some ways it worked for me, in other ways, it was okay. But the reality was, my parents, of course, instilled in us 2 things: hard work and good education. I mean, those are the 2 fundamental things that you had to make sure that you were focused and doing. Now, the reality of all this was, the good education piece is sort of that idea of, my parents, you send your kids to the U.S. to get that U.S. education in hopes that they'll come back and add value and be more successful on the ground. So my 3 oldest brothers were sent to the U.S. for university. And of course, I thought I was going to follow the same path. I was really excited about that until the Americans started making it real tough for Nigerian students to get visas. So my older brother, the one that's 8 years older, was refused a visa to the U.S. So I was like, man, it's all over for me, man. It's over. But to my luck, my parents were going to the U.S. to visit my siblings, and I begged them. I begged them to go with them. Clearly, as a 12-year-old, the Americans didn't think that I would have the audacity to think about staying there. But that was my plan. Now, So of course I arrived in the U.S. with my parents, and we're at my brother's house, and it got time for us. As it got closer for us to go home, I started lobbying my parents in this idea of staying. My mother, of course, said, over my dead body, it's not possible. You will not stay here. I'm my youngest son at the age of 12, of course, I can understand that. My father, of course, was real practical about it. It's like, well, I don't have any more money to send anyone to school. We trained his brothers, they should train him. I think it's the right thing to do. So they left my return ticket. My poor brother didn't know he was going to have a 12-year-old son so soon into his marriage. So they left my return ticket in hopes that I'll get homesick and I'll come back, of course, a couple of weeks later. But I did get homesick. Growing up in the U.S. wasn't easy for a 12-year-old. Of course, you arrive at first and you go to school and they start teasing you about how you're from the jungle and you have pet lions. At first, of course, try to fight it. I came on a plane. After a while, I'm like, man, forget this. I am going to tell them I have a pet lion. Who's going to mess with me if I have a pet lion? Right? So that worked for me. But the other thing that worked for me was I got excited about this. At the end of most of the weeks, the test results would come back. And of course, the teacher would now say, see what I got, the best grades in the class. And of course, I had to get the best grade in the class, which was, again, another way to show them, yeah, this African guy from the jungle is actually doing better than you guys. Now, it helped a lot. But right then, it was really funny. That was when my passion to really showcase to the world a reimagined Africa that we know, that was when it was really born. Because I was determined that one day I will show these people that our continent, full of vibrant young people, and amazing cultures and amazing stuff, is not what they imagine it to be. So as an international student in the U.S. at the time, I knew it was going to be tough for my brothers to actually pay for my school, right? So I started playing basketball as a backup. The chicks were also watching basketball instead of soccer, so that became my sport of choice. Fortunately, of course, I did get a basketball scholarship to go to university. And when I graduated, I did graduate with pretty good grades. And I graduated with something that I think a lot of young people don't get to experience on the continent. I was exposed to a lot of internships. And these internships actually gave me some practical learning that enabled me to get a job at MTV, which is sort of like, wow, what a dream job. But the trick, of course, was, when you're an international student, you get that 1 year they call practical training. After that, you have to go back to Africa. Clearly, I wanted to go back to Africa, but I wanted more training in the U.S. So in that year, I did agree with the MTV folks that if I did well, they would sponsor me for a work visa. And lo and behold, 6 months later, I was. So I started my career at MTV New York, and 2 years later, I actually moved to Los Angeles, where I started working as part of our distribution strategy team, working across distributing a whole bunch of different MTV channels that some of you guys may not know about, like country music television. Now, you have to imagine me in the middle of Wyoming trying to sell someone country music. You have to imagine me as the only person that looks like me at a Jody Messina concert, sober. But those are some of the things that, again, I was doing. Now, I must say that I did find success, and I was able to connect with people because they saw me as authentic. But in the back of my mind, I always wanted to bring MTV to Africa. For me, that was my way that I could show this vibrant youth culture, the music, all the great stuff that our young Africans, like me at the time, I'm old now, had to offer. So you wouldn't believe my luck. So I'm in LA, and all of a sudden our global CEO is actually visiting, and he takes my boss to lunch. And guess what? After lunch, my boss comes to introduce his staff to this guy. And when he got to me, I don't know if the wine was too heavy at lunch. It's America. I don't know if they had a beer. But he started going, this is our guy. He closed this deal. He's a superstar. He lost. So the guy was obligated to say, you want to have lunch? I'm like, of course. Now, of course, knowing me, a lot of people would have probably shied away from that idea, which is, again, it's important to always take advantage of opportunities that you get. But I didn't. I emailed him, called his office, and got a lunch. As I sat with him, he started asking me questions. What are your passions? Of course, that was my shot. I want to bring MTV to Africa. It was the only place in the world that we didn't have an MTV business. And for me, I had to also tell him the truth. I didn't want it to be a kumbaya thing. Let's have an Africa business to have an Africa business. I told him that I knew of a way, I knew of a plan for us to make money while at the same time being able to create great content that empower but also entertain our African audiences. So 8 months later, every single week or so, I write in these long emails that I thought were naive at the time. But guess what? People respond. I'm like, damn, this guy's really serious about this. Luckily, he kept responding, we kept talking. And a year later, fast forward a year later, I pitched him an idea of moving to London to work as part of our business strategy and strategy and business development team in London. And I was allowed to go on a 1-year sort of secondment, which again, if you know my journey, I tend to make it happen versus go back. So that was my year to try to come up with this plan. Of course, my primary job wasn't to come up with an MTV plan, don't get me wrong. I had to moonlight this idea. So beyond trying to figure out how we get into Asian countries with our different brands and businesses, it was also truly trying to figure out, in the middle of the night, how to write this great plan. I also convinced them to let me visit the continent and do research. It took a while to convince them, but it happened. So we went across from Senegal to Ghana to Nigeria to Kenya. Came to South Africa last on purpose because I knew we had competition down here, and I had to think of another way to be able to compete with them. It was me and anyone that I could recruit locally, and some video of this type of content and a whole bunch of questions. And I would ask young people, sit around with them, play content for them, play videos for them. And it was interesting in Nigeria was when I got this response. The guy said, I like the music, but if a guy carries the camera in the morning and he has a video at night, how good do you think it will be? So I said, okay. But what was really, really important and to understand that early was that, you know what? Young Africans actually wanted to see themselves in these music videos. They wanted to experience it, but the quality was so bad that they spent time laughing at the content versus actually appreciating the creativity and artistry of it. So it was really tough to think about because usually you're going to launch an MTV business, you're going into Europe, you plug in, you play, you don't worry about where the content is going to come from, how quality it is. But it was important to me, if I'm going to showcase this reimagined Africa that we're talking about, that the content had to be good. So I didn't want to patronize Africa to say we had a business, and it was not going to help me change people's minds about us. So the first thing we had to do was really think about how do we elevate the music video quality on the continent. So as part of the plan, we wrote, we're going to train our music video producers, who sometimes he's the artist himself, and he's the label manager, and he's the record label boss, and his studio is in the bedroom, and I have to go there. I'm like, hey, is your bedroom? He's like, yeah. But what you loved, and what I loved about it was seeing, it wasn't about where they were creating from, it was about the passion and the hard work they were willing to put in. And today, of course, when you really think about it, our music is now traveling all over the world, right? We launched our MTV Africa business in 2005 as a channel. I've had the opportunity to really, really see and work with amazing artists. I can tell you a lot of stories. But what I really love is that today, unlike then, our young musicians are making a lot of money from what they love to do. If some of them told their parents that they wanted to be musicians back then, they would say, are you serious? It's not possible. Well, today you find a lot of African parents that are actually encouraging their kids to go into music. And it's not out of desperation, it's actually out of allowing them to express themselves because music is an art. So the success of us, of course, led to a whole bunch of stuff. From our one channel MTV base to now we now have 10 channels that of course cover a variety of genres. We do stuff across with kids. We do stuff with Nickelodeon. We now have Comedy Central. On MTV base, of course, I love the fact that I can tell the story that Lupita Nyong'o got our first acting start on MTV based Sugar. Thank you. It's great to tell the story as I watched Trevor the other night in New York that he hosted our first ever Comedy Central roast. It's great to be there and watching our screens in different parts of the world and get to see our MTV African Music Awards highlighting great African talent in the best light possible. But beyond telling you our story and how we got there, I want to kind of leave you guys, not these guys, you. I want to kind of leave you guys with what has really driven us, the core values that's really driven us as part of our Africa Reimagined mission. And we actually got it out of, from the day one, we built it out of Africa as an acronym. And the first one is being accountable. Now, being accountable is so important. As you go on this journey, you're going to come up with great ideas. You're going to come up with great products. You're going to have to really be accountable for how successful they become and getting them to get there. Don't ever get tempted to blame someone or blame the environment for your challenges. Look beyond that. See the cup of half full versus half empty, and really drive to make sure that you own your future. The F, of course, is for be a first-time winner. It's important to make sure that you have a plan. It's important that in that process you're never winging it. That's why I got my notes, so I made sure I delivered a good speech. Is it okay? I'm kidding. To be a first-time winner, really test your products, your services, your innovations. Really, really test them over and over. Make sure that at the end of the day they're going to work, and make sure that as you set out there, you give yourselves a great chance to succeed. The R, of course, is being respectful. We live on a continent. You're going to be dealing with people across this continent. And it's really important to respect the people that you work with, your partners, your communities, and work hard to make sure that what you create and produce, or your ideas, are really sort of uplifting the continent if you can. The I, of course, I don't need to tell you about, is innovation. You got to make sure that you continue to innovate. Don't ever rest on the laurels of what you have today and what you've created today, because there's somebody else trying to definitely create more, something better. So make sure that you're always tweaking the idea, making sure that you're serving whoever constituents you want to serve better and better on a day-to-day basis. C, be collaborative. Work with other people. Don't be afraid to share your ideas. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Make sure that you find people that know more than you do and work with them and collaborate with them to really make sure that you get the best product and services out there. And the last piece being, be accessible. You guys are going to be very successful. Make sure that you're accessible to the people that you serve. Make sure that when you get really, really wealthy that you take my phone calls. But be accessible, because that's an important part of being successful in all of this. So, again, I really want to thank all of you for the opportunity to be able to speak to you. I wish you great luck in your future endeavors, and I feel very honored to have been here to share my thoughts with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex. I'm sure in addition to being inspired, the Anzisha Fellows understand that they have a friend for life in you. A friend or a sponge, depending on your perspective. Hopefully more of the first one. Okay, so we're moving chairs to the stage. As I mentioned earlier, this year is the 5th anniversary of the Anzisha Prize program, and so we brought a lot of the fellows back to tell us where they've been and what they've been doing in the time since they've won the Anzisha Prize. So we're going to have a panel discussion with 4 of our past Anzisha Prize fellows. So I'll introduce them to you now and invite them to come up to the stage and have a seat, and then we'll have a little bit of a chat. Okay. Please welcome George Baka, who was the runner-up for the Anzisha Prize in 2011. George is from Uganda, and his venture is called Angels Initiative. Also from Uganda, and the winner of the Anzisha Prize in 2012, Andrew Mupuya, who is the founder of Yeli Paper Bags Limited. A 2012 Anzisha Prize fellow from Tanzania, David Wendele, who is a social entrepreneur and the founder of Let God Be You Foundation. I think I have a chair. And finally, from the 2014 Anzisha Prize Fellow class, Jeff Mulawudzi from South Africa, who is the founder of African Public Bicycles. I did ask the Anzisha Prize team where the ladies were tonight. Now, we received 27% of our applications are from female entrepreneurs, which is clear that the fact that there is an underrepresentation of female entrepreneurs on the continent. However, within our fellow pool, the balance is much more even. But what we're finding is that the females were in high demand. So we reached out to, where is Grace? We reached out to about 6 of our female Anzisha Prize fellows, and they all told us that it being Global Entrepreneurship Week, they had other, apparently more tempting engagements. We like to think of it as they're out there flying the Anzisha flag high. Please remember to tweet hashtag Anzisha Effect and call out for women. Gentlemen, welcome back to the Anzisha stage. To begin with, if you could please just each introduce yourselves and tell us a little bit about some of your current initiatives and what you're working on in your business right now. So we'll start with you, George.
Yeah, George William Baka, I'm the CEO of Angels Initiatives. And what we actually do is invest in young entrepreneurs to build high growth companies. Currently, I think the statistics are quite clear. Africa needs to create 100 million new jobs every year. Now, personally, I believe the guys are going to create them, and young entrepreneurs like the folks here. But the biggest challenge all African entrepreneurs are facing is capital. Now, microfinance can't work because it's short term. Banks can't fund them because, well, it's too risky. Right, so there is, and venture funds don't come in because they come in high stage, 250K, $500,000. So we found a closed gap among how do we allow to invest 10 to 50K in early stage companies and give them the support to grow. Now, in Silicon Valley, you can invest money in a small company and come back 10 years later. And, I mean, you get your money. In Africa, it can't work. You also have to give it the management support to actually make it grow. So what we've done for the last 5 years is try to prove to the public that we can actually grow companies from ground up. So far, we've done about $90,000 in investments, 13 companies. They're quite good. The juicy part, the total annual revenue from all these companies to date is about $400,000. And then just our 90K investment, they have raised about $500,000 in follow-up investments. So we feel we still have a lot to do in terms of pushing them quite higher, but at least we are trying to prove a new model within the continent. Thank you.
Thank you, George. Thank you, George. And you raise a lot of good points about access to finance, which is something that we'll come back to later in the discussion. Jeff, please introduce yourself and your venture.
Thank you. My name is Jeffrey. I'm just from next door here, Alexandra Township. So I actually started a company in 2010, the World Cup, called African Public Bicycles. It was named Alexandra Bicycle Tours then, where we offered bicycle tours throughout the township of Alexandra. And we actually wanted to bring more impact, of course, into our community. I grew up in Alexandra, where I had to of course, to live in the same condition that a proper Alexandrian will live in. Usually, the problem will be, especially in the rural areas in South Africa or in townships in South Africa, we walk long distances to school. And which is not a problem most of the time, because you actually exercise, sometimes you get fit, but it's a problem when you get to school late, and there's a problem when you get absentees because of children cannot reach to school. And with the material, or I'll say bicycles that I had, I could actually change that problem. I actually started to give bicycles to students who are going to school to actually commute with bicycles. And going to the UK actually showed me a very good system, which was called the bicycle sharing system, that is being used in London, where students actually travel from, where actually people travel from one point to one point. We introduced that system in Sandton. It didn't work. We introduced it in Braamfontein. It did not work. We actually tried to bring it back to become a social impact business, where we giving out bicycles to students in the rural areas. They don't own them. We own the bicycles. We put them in one area where students can transport from one area to the school or from area to the libraries. And we source, of course, revenue from advertisement from different people on those business. And we actually spend more time trying to get revenue to buy those bicycles. So we have a transportation business, which we offer shuttles for different companies and for different individuals at the moment, which we actually bring revenue to buy more bicycles. At the moment, we have bicycles in Alexandra, and we have bicycles in Limpopo, which are running, and we rent out bicycles to anyone who's in these areas, Limpopo or Johannesburg. That's our current business. Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you.
David?
Okay. Thank you. My name is David Edward Mwendele from Dar es Salaam, Tanzania, and I'm the founder and executive director at the Let Go BU Foundation. Let Go BU Foundation is an organization, and this means like we are representing God on this earth. So prosperity is possible. I wonder how many gods are here tonight, how many young gods are here tonight. The world and the people, the poorest people, have been suffering for change for a very long time now. To change the situation, to bring the change the poor people want, we need new, proactive, and creative way of changing the situation. We need to change poverty into opportunity for all that are concerned. At LGBY, we are building capacity for the mothers and their children living in extreme poverty to escape poverty. We are doing this by giving opportunity to education for the children of the mothers living in extreme poverty, but also we are doing this by empowering the mothers to be able to do economic generating or income generating activities and help them to save money for their children's education. So, 6 years ago, I found myself stuck at home, not going to school after my primary school. And one day, I heard an announcement that there is a church looking for orphans to go to their secondary school. And by that time, I was already engaging myself into very bad group in my community to help my family survive. I went to the interview, and we were 64 young people over there, and they said we only need one person. I was selected out of those, and I wanted to study my secondary education at this orphanage school. After my graduation, I was like, no, David, you ain't go anywhere. You were selected for a reason, and you got to stay here, and you get to solve the problem. Thank you so much.
Andrew Mpuya, my name, an environmentalist. I'm running a paperback company in Kampala that I started because I was passionate about the environment and I wanted to create change in my community. I have been doing this since 2008, and it has grown from one level to the other, from operating from the bedroom to now owning my premises at least, and from making only takeaway bags, but to also making other different bags that are applicable in different now we are covering all sectors, For example, the bags under we made them. So we have moved from our products being rejected. Before, for example, by the time I started, we could approach, for example, a supermarket and you were rejected because of the quality. But now we are an option. We are an alternative to many because my company is known for quality paper bags now. And we are moved from only supplying roadsides, and by the time I came here for Anzisha Prize, I think we were making around 2,000 bags. But now we are able to make 18,000 to 30,000 bags within a week. And that calls in for my process. My project is labor intensive, and making those bags, they're all made by hand, except branding and cutting where we use some machines. So calls for employing, I'm now employing 24 people that make the paper bags directly. And from outsourcing everything almost to, at least I have machinery that help me print, help me cut the machineries. And I still have a lot of belief. For example, if I'm looking at Coca-Cola, in 1886, they were able to sell 90 bottles a day. But by 2013, they could sell 2 billion bottles. So I know one time we'll also make it. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew. So we've heard really strong themes of expansion. I mean, Andrew's production numbers and the fact that he's gone from renting premises to owning his own premises in the 3 years since winning the Anzisha Prize is true testament to the power and kind of the fact that we're identifying and we're backing the right young people. George, you and I had an earlier conversation about some of your challenges expanding. I know you tried to go into Kenya and you tried to grow Angels Initiative cross-border. Tell us a little bit about that. So we've heard really strong models of successful expansion from Andrew and from Jeff with his expansion into Limpopo. Tell us about your adventures trying to expand as a venture capitalist.
Yeah, I think what we've noticed is that, okay, we tried that. We tried to open an office in Kenya, in Tanzania, tried to find new companies there. But what we noticed is that we are spending far much more resources trying to look for new companies, other than focusing on growing the specific portfolio you have to become perhaps regional, then become perhaps Pan-African. So what we've decided to look at is to basically concentrate on building our current portfolio within the country, and as they expand into new countries, then we can ultimately look into how we actually create presence there. But actually, right now, 2 of our companies are actually regional. Right? That means they're selling within Kenya, they're selling within Tanzania. So we feel we can do that even more. But even on a global scale, Africa trades least with itself. I mean, we trade with China, with America much more than we trade with ourselves. So we have a long-term perspective for where we do things. So what we want to do is try to build this kind of company that actually can do transformative effect within Africa itself and increase trade within. So when you think about scale, it's within the companies you're trying to invest in. Yes.
Great. And what do you look for in an investee company? I asked because I know Mr. Mupuya. I met you 2 years ago for the first time, and every time I speak to you, I know you have a challenge that we'll come back to later. So, George, what do you look for in an investee company?
Yeah, so currently, still from experience, what we've found that we want to invest in companies which are producing products that have mass appeal and mass market, right? So that's in different sectors. That's construction, manufacturing, retail. So on the basic level, we look at the entrepreneur, what they are trying to do. The company they're trying to invest, they are building, should be able to make at least a factor of $5,000 within the first year of operation, because we come in quite early. So even if he's made $1,000 a month, then if you multiply that times 12, that's 1,200, right? So at that level we come in. So we look mostly on what's the margin they are doing, what's the possibility of expansion. If we put in a small investment and give it time to grow, can it actually create that ripple effect that could attract follow-up funding? and then if our management support can actually grow it up. So we've been experimenting with that for the last 5 years.
Great, thank you. So the concept of management and the value of financing as well as quality management as each of you grow your businesses is something that has continuously come up. Jeff, as you've expanded and grown your venture, how have you grown your management team and the people that you're working with?
Well, I've started a lot of companies, and I actually was very inspired when I actually met this year fellows. Because it actually represents who I've been. At the age that I am, I've started over 6 or 7 companies, which some of them fell and some of them were good. They've been very good. From your car wash, your mobile car wash, started a lot of things, a restaurant and, bicycle tours, which have become one of the best things in Johannesburg. But the most important thing was management in every business that I've started, and I've started them for a reason, of course, to source income or to bring income into the star that I want to grow, which is your bicycle sharing system, your school bicycle sharing system to allow students to share the bike. At the age that I am, you want people who are more experienced, right? Which means people who are older than you. People who have wisdom who can actually take the business where you cannot, sometimes. That was my biggest challenge because in Africa we have this challenge of saying that if you are younger, you should listen to elders. If you are, those are the challenges that I've actually, and I've met this fellow called Naftali, who's at the same age as I, and he's employing much older than people that I've employed. And I was telling him that, I have a 55-year-old who's doing this and this and this and this. I'm having this challenge. He's like, no. We should not bring culture or things into business. And I cannot say actually detailed, but it was very, very hectic. But actually from there, and then I'm employing, of course, older people, but I'm the youngest in my company at the moment, but it's quite much. I'll say it's of course a day-to-day learning, and it's more important to leave people to do their own stuff and to enjoy their work, and then to actually just go back in the. I'm not so good in English, but you will hear what I'm saying. Actually, to not follow people in the back, just to allow them to do their day-to-day job, to trust them with everything that they're doing, and that's exactly what's actually actually increasing my staff actually in the management team. Yeah.
Cool. That's great. Thank you. So Jeff is not a micromanager, and if I understand you correctly, you're hiring?
Yes.
David, as a social entrepreneur, how has the Anzisha Fellowship and the network that has opened up to you impacted your venture?
Okay, thank you, Wati. As a social entrepreneur, it means like we are running businesses that really serve the very poor people in the country or in the continent, which means the profit there is not always possible. Sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. So, businesses that serves the very poor, they need recognition because the profit to them isn't always possible. And recognition brings to them reputation, a good reputation of the business, a good reputation of the organization. And reputation brings good people to the organization. New good people to the organization who comes to support the organization. Actually, since I started LGBY, it has been very difficult to run this organization, but what kept me running it was my passion and was my background. Once I came to Anzisha Prize and become an Anzisha Fellow, I became a superstar in Tanzania. I just wonder why MTV didn't document it. I wondered. I've been in Tanzania for 3 years since I started my organization, and no any media came to me, and no any donor came to me. I had to start a side business that can make money to support the children and the mothers in my community. And later on, that this rich guy came, invested a lot of money on the same business, killed my business completely. But I was like, okay, fine, I'll keep going. During the Anzisha time, the medias in Tanzania, the medias in different places in the world talked about me, and these medias brought new people in my organization. I've once met this organization called Kiklon Canada. They told me, like, we've seen you on BBC, and we wondered if we could work with you because we want to do what you guys are doing, but we don't have time to come in Africa. Actually, they gave me the first funding to invest on the 30 mothers in my community. Later on, I met people called Afri Inspire. These guys came to me and said, okay, David, you are teaching these kids. Do you need any assistance? And I was like, oh, guy, I need technologies. I need computers. They brought computers. And this year, I have to go back to Dar es Salaam to pick more computers and TVs for kids to learn, for the kids' mothers to learn. But also, next week, I'll be receiving a donor from Holland who is coming to support us to make sure the cause is getting to reality. But this was only the Anzisha. And lastly, is through the Anzisha programs like Indaba. I've been learning a lot from my fellows. The first year fellows, George Barker has been a good advisor to me. Andrew Mapuya has been advising me a lot, and others. But the last one, Anzisha Prize, opened the door of me knowing the good of traveling with flights. my first flight was with Anzisha, and from that moment, all the trouble was fly. Thank you so much.
Thank you, David. Thank you, David. Please look out for the Anzisha Fellows 2015 releasing their own music video, which apparently is a possibility. Unfortunately, in the interest of time, we're going to have to wrap up this panel. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for your time. It was wonderful to see you back here and to learn more about what you've been up to. I'll ask Andrew to close as the band comes up to entertain us so we can all dance. Andrew, as I mentioned, won the Anzisha Prize, the grand $25,000 prize 3 years ago in 2012.
30,000.
30,000, my goodness, it was bigger. Andrew, what is your advice to this year's fellows who are hoping that one of them is going to walk away with the grand prize? What are your tips? I know it's probably too late for them, but let's hear them anyway. Thank you very much for your time.
My advice to the fellows is the most important thing. So, whether you win the prize or you don't win, it doesn't matter your destination. Because you can win, and if you not, just follow the steps. To be honest, the training I received from the LA within 1 week, I've been in university for many years, but I have never seen it. I have never got it anywhere else. I have been to different workshops, but I have never seen that. I studied business communication skills from university. I finished it without a lecturer telling me come in front and practice presentation. I already did it at early. So those are the best concepts you received that you need to apply in your businesses. I've tried it has worked out for me. And I have won so many other awards on top of the $30,000. I have been featured on so many other medias after that. So what you have to do, apply the concepts you have learned, and this year we work as a team. We work as a team. We are always in touch with these guys, you see. We are not, so don't move away from here. And if you're part of the reason why your fellows is working together, if you're in Uganda and I need something, if you're in Kenya and I need something from Kenya, why can't I contact you instead of struggling, going to do due diligence, going to Ghana when there is a fellow there? So we need each other. If you've joined us, cooperate with us and don't be alone. And also, this goes to those who will be winners. Sometimes you may get the cash prize and you get so much excited. That cash can get finished within a very period of time. Money is so slippery. So just have very good concepts of yourself, ensure financial management in your businesses. Because I'm talking this because I've experienced it. I have had a fire outbreak in my company and I lost over $20,000 within a very short period of time. But because of the concepts I've learned, it didn't stop me. But I just grew more than when it happened. Thank you.
Thank you.
next 2 minutes after this next number. Ladies and gentlemen, if you could start to take your seats after this one number, we'll continue with the program. Thank you.
My people, open your eyes and answer the call of the drum. Frelimo, Frelimo, Samora Machel, Samora Machel has come. Maputo, Maputo, home of the brave, our nation will soon be as one. Frelimo, Frelimo, Zamora Machel, Zamora Machel has come. Mozambique, mama, aluta continua. In Zimbabwe, mama, aluta continua. In South Africa, aluta continua.
We continue with the program. Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats as we continue with the program. If you are the owner of this vehicle, a Mercedes-Benz white convertible with a plate number 111ZZGP, you need to go and lock your car properly. It's raining and the roof is open. A Mercedes-Benz, a white convertible with a number plate 111ZZGP, you need to go and lock your vehicle right away. Ladies and gentlemen, we are continuing with the program now. Kindly take your seats.
My name is Farah Juma. I'm 90 years old. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Shesha Eye Seminar. which is Zimbabwe's first online student-driven educational platform, Shesha means champion, and we believe that every African child can become a champion in the academic arena. We've been using our revenue to pay school fees for marginalized students in rural settlements, and this is what has been motivating us to continue on with our venture. If I win the Anzisha prize, I'll be migrating to cloud services which are much bigger. That means that you attract more users and we're able to earn more revenue and touch the life of many students out there. My name is Farahim Juma and I am an African leader.
Okay, my name is Jeff Alfred Ennis. I come from Tanzania. I'm the founder and managing director of Jeffrey Agri-Friend Solutions. So Jeffrey Agri-Friend Solutions is an agricultural business venture which currently deals with commercial poultry farming, vegetable cultivation, maize and rice farming. Winning the Anzisha prize will enable us to expand our agricultural productions. It's like dairy farming, manufacturing, fish farming, and cultivating of other crops. We want to feed as many Africans as possible, and we want to touch the lives of more than 20 million people by 2020. My name is Jeff Alfred Ennis and I am an African leader.
I'm Mabel Suglo, co-founder of EcoShoes. If I win the Anzisha prize, I would use it in employing more people with disabled artisans, and I'll acquire the necessary machineries and bring on a pro bono from Italy who will be staying with us in Ghana for 3 months to give us much more training on whatever we are doing for free. My name is Mabel Suglo and I'm an African leader.
Hi, I'm Daniel Mukisa from Uganda, co-founder and operations manager of Transporter Corporation. If I win the Anzisha Awards, I plan on buying more motorbikes, to do more deliveries and expand our fleets. We intend to create more awareness about our business and venture into new markets. We'll have a plan of 6 months getting into Kenya and Rwanda. And so if I win the Anzisha Award, I believe we'll be able to get to those new markets. I am Daniel Mukisa and I'm an African leader.
I'm Caritas Kincholo, the co-founder and managing director of Puki Smaller Clothing. We use the company as an engine to drive change within our community, also to create employment for young people and also for women who have lost their jobs. If I were to win the Anzisha prize, the main thing that we would do is to increase our capacity by purchasing more machinery, and through the money that we'll get from the prize, we'll be able to, at the very least, triple the number of people that we employ at the moment. I am Caritas Kincholo, and I am an African leader.
Hi, I'm Hidayah Ibrahim, 22 years old from Ethiopia. The project I work on deals with improving education quality in Ethiopia. If I win the Anzisha prize, it will help me expand my project, as it is now limited to the capital of Ethiopia, Addis Ababa. Will help me expand it to other parts of the country where the need is actually even more important. I'm Hidayah Ibrahim, and I'm an African leader.
My name is Fabrice Alomo. I am the co-founder and CEO of My eConnect. My eConnect is creating a world where you can access whatever you want, pay directly, locate yourself as a piece of cake, and get delivered in one click. If I won the surprise, I will continue to expand the reach of digital financial services to unbanked people in my country and across Africa. I am Fabrice Alomo. I am an African leader.
Hi, my name is Chris Kokowe and I'm the co-founder and CEO of SleepCube. We help students build industry-relevant skills through a combination of online courses and offline courses, built in partnership with platforms like edX, Coursera, and Udemy, and schools like MIT. If I win the Anzisha prize, we'll be looking to create more partnerships with platforms like edX and Coursera to build even more courses and run more programs in schools and other institutions to help students develop these required skills that will help them make and get working jobs going forward. My name is Chris Kokowe and I'm an African leader.
I'm Kama Fortune Bless, the founder of Remote Therapeutic Studio, a holistic healthcare solution for low-income families. If I win the Anzisha prize, it will help us get critical staffs and more therapeutic machines to help us reach out to more persons there. I am Blessing Fortune. I am an African leader.
My name is George Mtemanzi, I'm 22 years old and I'm co-founder and CEO of Sunset Solar Limited. If I win this competition, we are going to be to construction a solar system in rural areas using the new products that we want to introduce in Tanzania marketing. My name is George and I am an African leader.
I'm Zuma
Azumi Vanessa, CEO and co-founder of Emerald Moringa Tea. I got inspired from my own personal story because I lost my grandfather, my grandparents to diabetes, and a lot of people in my community suffer from diabetes. And because I saw that problem gap, I knew I could be the solution to that problem, even if I'm not the cause of the problem. So I came up with Emerald Moringa Tea, which have antioxidant which can reduce and regulate the blood sugar level in human, therefore a potential anti-diabetic treatment. If I want the Anzisha prize, I'll use that money to buy machines for my company so that I can increase my output from 15 kilograms to about 9,000 kilograms of output. Okay, I'm Azumi Vanessa and I'm an African leader.
Okay, now we move into the business end of the evening. We start the journey towards announcing the grand prize winner for the Anzisha Prize 2015. But to begin with, we recognize each of our fellows who walks away a winner tonight. So each of our fellows will receive $2,500 as a gift that they can use towards their venture. It's in recognition of the ingenuity, the scale, and the impact that they've demonstrated by making it this far. To hand out the wonderful shiny statuettes, I would like to invite two of the co-founders of African Leadership Academy, Mr. Fred Swanica, who is the founder and executive chairman of the Academy, and Mr. Chris Bradford, who is the founder and chief executive officer of the Academy. Mr. Ashaleke, we see you hiding. We won't invite you up. Okay, so this is how it's going to work. I'm going to call each fellow in turn, and you come up and you grab your shiny statuette, you shake hands, and you smile for your photo op, and then you return to your seat, like a nice assembly line. Okay, in absentia, from Rwanda, Chantal Butare, who is 21 and the founder of Kinazi Dairy Cooperative. Oh, applause. Okay, recognizing the fellows who are here tonight, Blessing Cuomo, from Nigeria, who is the founder of D. Rohobot's Therapeutic Studio. Thank you, Blessing. Also from Nigeria, Chris Kwekoe, the founder of Slate Cube. From Uganda, Daniel Mukisa, the founder of Transporter Company. I think I found a system that works now. From Cameroon, Fabrice Alomo, the founder of My A Connect. From Zimbabwe, Farai Munjoma, the founder of Shasha Eye Seminar. From Ethiopia, Hidayah Ibrahim, the founder of Kwine Association for Promoting Education Quality. From South Africa, the founder of Push Ishmoholo, Caridas Chincholo. From Tanzania, the founder of Sunsweet Solar, George Mutemahanji. From Ghana, the founder of Eco Shoes, Mabel Suglo. From Tanzania, the founder of Jeffren Agri-Friends Solution, Sir Jeff Bennett, sorry. Apparently there's some Tanzanians in the house. And finally, from Cameroon, the founder of Emerald Moringa Tea, Vanessa Zomi. Group photo. So I'll ask Fred and Chris to stay on the stage. And now the fun begins. Well, it's been fun for most of the time. This year, we have a special prize for a young entrepreneur who operates a venture in agriculture that is generously sponsored by the Louis Dreyfus Foundation. I'd like to invite a representative from Louis Dreyfus, Mr. Serge Schorn, who's with us today, to present the prize to the winner. This year we had 2 agricultural ventures represented in our finalist pool. The winner of the Louis Dreyfus Prize for Entrepreneurship in Agriculture goes to a young woman who is impacting thousands of households in her home country and leveraging, as I mentioned earlier, government policy to create meaningful impact for herself and for others. Chantal Boutare, the founder of Kidako. Unfortunately, Chantal could not be with us tonight, and so we do have a representative from the Embassy of Rwanda who is here to accept the prize money on her behalf. Please welcome to the stage the representative from Rwanda. It's yours. Okay? Yes, the judges now. Thank you so much. I know Chantal is watching online and she is following proceedings, so Chantal, congratulations, and we really wish you could be here. There are 5 people who we need to thank and acknowledge who had the unenviable task of choosing tonight's winners. So if you have any protests, they're sitting over there. We want to thank our distinguished panel of judges who are themselves entrepreneurs or supporters of entrepreneurs. Some of them are here today, some of them are not. In absence, thank you to Mr. Sango Dao, the founder and CEO of Golden Palm Investments. Applause. Also in absence, thank you to Ms. Renuka Methley, the editor of Forbes Women Africa. Our good friend, Mr. Willie Yav, who is making his second appearance as Anzisha Prize judge, the co-founder and director of Pigma Group. We're giving Willie an ALA email address and a desk at the office because he spends so much time with us. We welcome to our judging community Ms. Heba Gamal, who's come all the way from Egypt. She's the managing director of Endeavor Egypt, and she has been with us for the whole week. Thank you. And a really exciting first for us, you saw him earlier on the panel today, our first Anzisha Fellow who is a judge, Mr. George Baka, the founder and CEO of Angel Initiatives and Anzisha Prize runner-up for 2011. Thank you so much for volunteering your time and for putting yourselves up for the wonderful task of choosing tonight's winners. Okay. I'd like to invite Kofi from MasterCard Foundation to join Fred and Chris on stage as we now announce the winners. The prize money that's up for grab is $12,500 for our second runner-up, serious money, yes? $15,000 for our first runner-up, and the grand prize of $25,000, which is given to you as a gift to use wisely. Our second runner-up. This young entrepreneur runs a manufacturing operation that has a strong social component and engages typically disenfranchised segment of the community. And I want to buy it. Modern and durable. With the prize money, she plans to buy more machinery and to scale production for her venture. Ladies and gentlemen, the second runner-up for the 2015 Anzisha Prize is Mabel Suglo, the founder of Ecoshi from Ghana.
I just want to say thank you to God first for bringing me this far. I want to say thank you to everybody that made this possibility, ALA, Anzisha, the sponsors and partners, for this generous amount given. Much more lives of disabled people that seems to be marginalized in the society will be impacted. Thank you.
Congratulations, Mabel. Our first runner-up and winner of $15,000. Much has been said about technology enabling African nations to leapfrog in their development. Mobile phones and other innovations will, for example, enable the continent unbanked to access financial services or result in better information access, so in information reaching even more remote places. Our runner-up tonight is leveraging mobile phones, cutting-edge technology, and progressive policies to reimagine the way communal farmers and small-scale businesses trade with each other. Ladies and gentlemen, our runner-up tonight is from Cameroon, the founder of mobile money solutions business, MyAConnect, Fabrice Alomo.
Too much emotion. I'm quite surprised. I will first thank you to the Anzisha program, to the MasterCard Foundation, and to the ALA. It was an amazing week with amazing fellows. Each of you deserve to win this trophy. You are a great guy. It's not just Cameroon winning, it's Africa winning. What we are doing today is try to make sure that each unbanked people in Cameroon and in Africa have access to basic financial services. And for the next coming years, we make sure that the 17 million in Africa, 17 million people in Cameroon have access to the basic one, and the 700 million across Africa now enter the financial system through our solution. Be sure we achieve it. It's a tough job and a hard job to do, but we make it with the support of the Anzisha team and the support of Africans. Thank you, all of you.
Congratulations, Fabrice. Congratulations, Cameroon. It's been a good couple of years for Cameroon and Anzisha. The winner last year was from Cameroon. No pressure for next year. Hashtag Anzisha effect. Tell your people. And to the winner. At yesterday's presentation to the judges, tonight's winner was unrestrained and enthusiastic, barely pausing for breath as gender unspecified delivered gender unspecified's pitch. We actually thought gender unspecified was going to collapse for enthusiasm and excitement, such as gender unspecified's enthusiasm and unbridled passion for his enterprise. Oh no, I gave it away. And rightfully so. 63 million people each year are unemployed due to not having the right skills. And 7 in 10 startups don't have skilled labor. And so that's crippling the scaling of those businesses. Tonight's winner has a venture that provides a mutually beneficial solution to both job seekers and job providers. His business and his venture is an online platform that is providing training, for job seekers and connecting them to employers both in the startup and the established space. Ladies and gentlemen, the grand prize winner of the 2015 Anzisha Prize is from Nigeria. The founder of Slate Cube, Chris Kekoye. You want to hold it?
I'm not tall, so I have to bring this a little bit down. We were all told yesterday to actually go prepare for a speech to talk about, if you get to win. I actually didn't prepare because I was literally all over the stage trying to talk about how important what we're doing with Slate Cube is. I didn't believe we were actually going to be winning this today. Like Fabrice said, these guys were really and are still really awesome people, and it's a privilege to actually be doing, this with them. Thank you, Anzisha. You guys are really fantastic. For me, it's really what we have learned and not really what we have done that brings promise and hope for entrepreneurship and success and impact in Africa. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yes. You're dismissed. Thank you very much. Good work. Congratulations, Chris. Congratulations, Fabrice. Congratulations, Mabel. like a true tech entrepreneur, Chris doesn't actually own a tie, so I've spent the last 2 days fighting with him to get a tie, so I'm really pleased that you rustled up a bow tie. Thank you and congratulations. Now, our work on the ground in identifying young entrepreneurs isn't something that we do on our own. It's enabled by 25 local partners whose daily work nurtures and touches the young entrepreneurs that we hope to reward and to recognize, and again, whose impact we hope to amplify. So we're moving on to the next part of our evening where we celebrate some of our partners on the ground. After that will close the evening, we'll have a press conference with Josh Adler and our prize winners. So I'll please ask members of the press to remain seated. Everybody else can leave once we're done. But members of the press, please stay for a press conference. To celebrate our in-country partners and to close out our evening, I'd like to invite to the stage the Anzisha Prize team at African Leadership Academy, who are led by the Vice President of Global Programs, Mr. Josh Adler.
Thanks, Wazi. I'm just going to wait for some of our team members to join me on stage. Sure, what an evening we've had. And for those of us that have been doing this for some time, what a 5-year journey this has been. Thank you so much for coming to celebrate with us tonight. As a team, I think the thing that we really wanted to feel tonight was that Anzisha arrived, right? That we've truly arrived. We set out to build Africa's premier brand and premier award for the youngest entrepreneurs that exist on the continent. And I think after a 5-year journey and the gala tonight, I don't think we can say it, we mean it. So a round of applause. Thank you so much for being part of getting there. On stage with me are the incredible Anzisha team that I work with every day. Grace Kalisha, who joined us earlier this year and will lead the program going forward. Melissa Mbazo, who runs our rapidly growing partner program, and Fanta Traore, who is a new fellow at the Academy and looks after the Anzisha Fellows. I think these are 3 amazing young women to watch. I know we're talking about entrepreneurs tonight, but the future of African leadership is right here. So I think let's just give her another round of applause. We as a team can only operate at the scale we do by working with others. Our partner program engages youth organizations in almost every African country. We'd like to celebrate 4 of them tonight, and if Jane, Kadir, Gilles, and Dunya could start making their way up to the stage. Come on, please. While they're coming up, I will just explain who they are, so please come and join us. So Jane Gonsalves from Tanzania Private Sector Investment in Tanzania. Kadir Ahmed from AKDB in Ethiopia. Gilles Luat from Youth Business Cameroon, and Dunya Kitembo from Paris TV in the Democratic Republic of Congo. So you are our partners, and you are receiving the first ever Partner Award for your work in supporting us in finding young entrepreneurs. Thank you so much and congratulations. Okay, so let's start to wind this down and understand why we're all here. I think for those of us that know African Leadership Academy, and particularly for those that are new to our community, if you haven't realized it by now, and I said this last year, we are far more than a school. We do a lot of amazing stuff. Tonight has also served as a sort of informal launch for our new Global Programs division at the Academy. For some time now, many people within our community and those that know us have been giving us a very simple sort of challenge. It's 2 words: do more. The Global Programs division is, I think, the first or one of our really key responses to that challenge. We have simple goals. We need to increase the Academy's reach, we need to accelerate the impact of our work, and we need to tackle the big issues of the day head on. Some of these are going to be the following. We're going to encourage youth interest in government and diplomacy through our growing Model African Union project. Schools who want to pursue new approaches to learning can now actually come to the Center for Entrepreneurial Leadership at the Academy and receive advice, training, and curriculum. We're engaging hundreds of youth every year in the diaspora and their families through our Global Scholars Program, encouraging them to be part of Africa's future. And thousands of teens will explore entrepreneurship opportunities in what we're calling the sectors that matter through our Build in a Box program, which ran in 27 countries this year. We need a lot of help to get where we're going, and we're hoping that everyone in this room is going to put up their hand, give us a call, and get stuck in. After 5 years of building the Anzisha program, there are, and that's what we're celebrating tonight, it's the 5th anniversary. There are just too many people to thank, and no contribution supersedes any other. There are so many people in this room, back at our campus, and around the world who have got us to where we are. So on behalf of ALA and the MasterCard Foundation, for whatever role you have played, you have our gratitude. Together we've spent the last 5 years building a program strong enough to make our next move. Over the next 5 years, along with our partners, we're going to invest over $8 million into Africa's youth entrepreneur support ecosystem. That's focusing on the 15 to 22-year-old age group. Tomorrow that work begins, and on your way home tonight, I'd encourage you to think about what role are you going to play? What are you going to do? I'll leave you with this parting thought. It is imperative, it is vital that we see more very young, successful entrepreneurs in Africa. The reason is that, unlike us, they aren't afraid to employ young people. Okay? I'll say that again. They are not afraid to employ young people. Young entrepreneurs employ their peers and their friends. They're actually our best chance of creating new opportunities for thousands of youth across the continent and making a dent into the employment issue that we're so desperately trying to change. Thank you again for coming. Good night, travel safe, and wait for great things from Anzisha.
Ladies and gentlemen, we've got a canopy dinner that will be taking place in the exhibition venue. As you begin to make your exits, please make sure you stop by for dinner before you leave. Members of the press, please aggregate towards the front. The press conference will start in exactly 10 minutes. The band will perform for us now. We'll enjoy dinner in the lobby, and members of the press should please stay seated in the front. Thank you very much. Thank you for your time. We hope you have a really good experience.
da 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 da. Do do da 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 da. I just wanna feel good every day.